Very good evening. Jai Shri Krishna Guru. Thank you for joining Sri Bhagavad-Gita Satsang. The Song of the Divine. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. We'll continue from where we stopped yesterday, that is chapter 2, Sankhyayoga, the Yoga of Knowledge. In this chapter, so far, Lord Shri Krishna has been explaining and teaching Arjuna about how the soul is eternal and he doesn't have to grieve. And he's asking Arjuna to fight the battle and not get infatuated with the attachment to the body. So let us continue from verse 26 and see what Lord Shri Krishna is once again emphasizing to Arjuna about the eternity of the soul, that is Paramatman. And Arjuna, if you should suppose this soul to be subject to constant birth and death, even then you should not grieve like this. Wow, this is very, very important and profound. What is the Lord telling Arjuna? He's saying, and Arjuna, if you should suppose this soul to be subject to constant birth and death, even then you should not grieve like this. Wow, that's very powerful. You know, what is the Lord teaching here? He's telling Arjuna, even if you assume, let us assume that the soul to be having a birth and death, even if it is having a birth and death, you still should not be grieving like this. What does that tell us? See, in life, we might face a lot of difficulties. We might come across too many problems. But that does it mean that we should stop fighting life? We should stop facing our problems or challenges? We should give up? No, giving up is not the answer. That is exactly what Lord Shri Krishna is teaching Arjuna. Giving up is not the answer. You might have lost your job. You might have, paucity of, your money. You might have some sickness, or your family members might be sick, but none of this should let you to grieve. Even then, he's saying you should not grieve like this. Why are you getting emotional? What is the point in grieving? Is there anything that you're going to achieve? On the contrary, you're losing the time. The precious time which God has given you to do something fantastic in this world. And the most important thing that you're losing is your self-empowerment. You're becoming very low. You're losing that identity of who truly you are, that great warrior. And somebody who has all the divine qualities, that capabilities. Yesterday we discussed about the hidden potentials, God-given hidden potentials. It is very much within you. But we become completely negative, demotivated, and feel all the inadequacies in life, and then have the defeatist attitude. Why should you feel defeated? Why should you feel let down? This life is a Mahabharat war. You have to fight, you have to face and fight the war. There is no point in grieving. And that's exactly what Lord Shri Krishna is saying. Even if you think that soul, this Paramatman, is subject to constant birth and death, even then you are not supposed to grieve. There is no pointing in grieving at all, feeling emotional, feeling, oh, I don't know what is going to happen to me. I don't know how I'm going to, get out of this. Should I run away? Should I give up? People have all sorts of ideas. I listened to somebody a few days ago telling, I don't seem to, be worthy to live this life. I've become a defeatist. I feel I'm defeated. I don't know what is my future going to look like. I want to take to asceticism. People think, spirituality is an escapism from material world. Forget about spirituality. Lord Shri Krishna in an entire Bhagavad-Gita, nowhere he tells Arjuna that you have to take up to asceticism. Nowhere. On the contrary, he says, please do your duty, born of your swadharma. You have to do this duty. You have to do your duty to your highest of your ability, not focusing on the end result. And most important, it's not about asceticism and going somewhere and sitting. No, that's not what life is all about. Life is all about you have to face. Please remember, when the Lord is on Arjuna's side, can anything befall him? Even in the following chapters, the Lord Shri Krishna is going to explain, when he is there on the side of his devotees, Can anything fall short? Can anything befall his devotees? There is no calamities. Nothing can befall them because the Lord is the protector. See, as a body, like I keep saying this, you have to go through the karmic debts that you have, because this body, this life itself, this body is given because of a repayment. You have born in this life with this body for certain repayments, whether it is good karma or bad karma. Let us get that very clear, okay? And the next important thing that you are born is for, you have to do your swadharma. There is something that you have to achieve. One is the God realization, second is to fulfill the purpose of your existence as this human being. And the most important thing which the Lord is saying, when you are following the path of righteousness, that is dharma, why do you think anything can befall you? I am always there, the Chatra Chaya, lifting the mount of Govardhan, Lord Sri Krishna, depicts that he's always giving protection to his devotees and disciples. There is no calamity that can befall them. And this is the conviction and the faith we need to have in the divine Lord. And he also says that, there will be nothing there will be nothing short in my devotees' home. They will not fall short of anything. Whether it is food, clothing, shelter, everything will be provided to them. Whatever has to come to them will come to them. There will be no wanting in my devotees' home. Lord Sri Krishna has said this. So what makes you think that, you're going to suffer, you're going to have a miserable life? Do not have that, kind of thoughts. That thoughts are put to you by your mind, whose only job is to show all the downside of life. The mind is never going to show you the upside of life. So what is the most important thing that we have to overcome in our life is the mind. The mind is something we have to control. It has to be channeled. It has to be directed, so that it can show us the proper way of life. It can guide us through, opening up opportunities. My Krishna Guruji will always say, keep your mind open. Then the universe will open, because the universe is always going to give you multiple options, opportunities. But if your mind is not open, how will you accept that grace? How will you see that opportunity? So here, when we give the charge to the divine Lord, who's the charioteer of this body, he's the charioteer of Arjuna. He's driving Arjuna's life. Likewise, this divine Lord is driving our life. So when we give the charge into the divine Lord, he will take us to that right destination. He will guide us through the path. The Lord is not going to fight the battle. The Lord is only a charioteer, in the sense he is only a guidance. He is only going to guide you, but the execution, the actual doership rests with you alone. You and me, we are the Arjuna in our life. So we have to fight our life, face our life with grit and all the strength that the God has given us, with all the capabilities, and feeling that positivity in us, that yes, I can do, I can, I will, and I conquer. So let us continue. Verse 27. For in that case, death is certain for the born and rebirth is inevitable for the dead. You should not therefore grieve over the inevitable. See, the Lord is, every verse, he's giving different explanations to explain the same thing, to drill that point in Arjuna's mind. He's like trying to drill the same thing to Arjuna in different ways. He's telling Arjuna, why are you grieving? You have to rise. Now you have to fight. You can't at this hour, when everybody is ready for the war, tell that I'm not going to fight. There is no escapism. Please remember, you can't escape from your duties. There is no way out of it at all. You are born with the destiny. You have to perform your tasks, and that task, whether you like it or not, there are no likes and dislikes. Please remember this. And that's exactly what we learned earlier in the same chapter, where the Lord is teaching Arjuna to have equanimity of mind, where it's not about you like to do something or you don't like to do something. You are born to do that particular task, so you have to do in detachment, not having a like or dislike to it. Similarly, there are no two ways about it, and the Lord is trying to drive home the point to Arjuna. What is the point in grieving over something that is inevitable? Inevitable means whether you like it or not, that is programmed. It's anyways going to happen. That is how it has been created. So what is he saying? For in that case, death is certain. See, when you are born, you are anyways going to die. Whether you die at the age of 10, 20, 40, whatever that age might be, you come with that destination. So let us get it very clear. So you're anyways going to die, which means the body is anyways going to die, and death is certain for the born. So having had, born as a human being, or anybody, whether it is animal, any creatures, whoever has been born, you're anyways going to die. And rebirth is inevitable for the death. And those who die, they're again going to be reborn. Because what did we learn? If you don't put a stop, we say the soul, it's not the soul, it's about having the cycle of birth and death, birth and death. So when do you stop that? Only when you attain God realization. When you get that liberation, we say moksha. Attaining that liberation is when you will put a stop to it. Otherwise, you're going to be coming back. You're going to be born, you're going to die. So the cycle of birth and death is anyway going to be continuing. So it is inevitable. That is the way in which this entire universe has been created. So what is the point in grieving about it? Of something which you have no control over and which you cannot change. See, destiny is anyway going to put you through that path, okay? You're walking that path, but what happens on the path you don't have control over. Similarly is this life of ours. So when we are born with a destiny, and we have to do that certain tasks that has been assigned to our, this human body. We are assigned with that task. And if we don't perform that task, then what happens? You're falling off your path. You're falling off that path of dharma. And that is what is very important. Why does the Lord have to keep taking, time and again? Why should He manifest time and again? Because we don't understand our duties. We always fall off the path of dharma. So the Divine Lord manifests to establish the dharma, to put people back on the path, on the right track, so that they can go on the path and do whatever that is prescribed for them to do. And this is what we miss. We think it's a very painful existence. This life itself is a war. It's a battle. That is why I say this Kurukshetra is not outside, in the sense it is physically happening within us. It is happening in our world. So it's, you can, usually it happens in the three capacities, right? It happens within the world which is existing, and the world which you can't even see. So it is happening simultaneously at three places. So what happens then? So you don't have any control, but the control that you can have is how you progress on the path. The control you have is that you can control your mind. You can make your mind to listen to these teachings and do your duty to your highest of your abilities. We say God-given ability. Each of us have some beautiful qualities, the capabilities, abilities. It's so profound, it's so nice. But you know what? We don't tap that, which is within us, that we say hidden potentials. We don't tap into it. Why? Because we don't want to work. We don't want to do. We want things easy. We don't want to put effort to achieve something. We want it all easy. But please remember, nobody has got it easy. Sometimes when somebody gets it easy, please remember, that is how their destiny, their karma, is programmed. In the sense, some past karma, they might have done something good. That merit they might be enjoying now. So we are nobody to judge. See, one of the things that you should not do is being judgmental about anyone. Our mind is constantly judging everybody. And because of this judgment, having a judgmental attitude, we limit ourselves. So never be judgmental about another human being or yourself as well. You don't have to judge yourself. There are two kinds of people. One, people will always be judging another human being because that's a human nature. That's how we are programmed. And the second thing is we judge ourselves. We think either we are good, we are bad, or we are, we also play this role of martyr. Oh, I am the one, I am because of me, I am bad. That becomes a martyr. You become a martyr. So you don't have to even do that. You know what? Something very beautiful which my Krishna Guruji constantly teaches us. He says, if I don't keep pushing you, to your limits, you're going to stop performing. So there is no stopping, which means if you have achieved, say you set a bar, today my bar is 10, I have reached that goal of 10, then I have to increase my bar to 20. So this is exactly what the gurus do, the great masters do. And if you don't stretch yourself, then how do you unravel that hidden potential? How do you know what are the beautiful capabilities, the God-given capabilities within you? How will you understand your own potential and strength? You're not going to. So the great masters, the real gurus, do this to their disciples. They push them. They stretch their limits. But what happens? Not everybody can handle this. Why? Because people are weak like Arjuna. And either they'll say, okay, this is not for me, I'm going to walk out. But is walking out the answer? You need to ask yourself. Is the guru going to benefit anything by doing that? Of course not. On the contrary, the guru, the great master like Lord Sri Krishna, is only wearing himself out. He wears himself out so that you can become fantastic. But this knowledge is never understood. This aspect is never understood. Because when you go through, it's what the process that which seems painful in the beginning is nectarine at the end. In fact, Lord Sri Krishna himself has said in one of the words which we will be learning, where whatever you feel, the process right now is so painful. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to learn. I don't want this, because we feel it hurts. And then, please remember, at the end, that itself is going to become that amrit, that nectarine, sweet. And you will enjoy that bliss at that moment in time. But first, you have to go through that process. That process is beautiful. So don't deny. So coming back to the point, so you don't have to grieve. There is nothing that is in your hand. What is inevitable, how can you control that which has been programmed like that? That is the way we say the universal law. It's a creation of this law. It's a rule of that universal law, and nobody can change this. So why are you grieving over something that is inevitable? Anyways, they're going to die. Whether they die in the battlefield or they're dying otherwise, how does it matter? Death is permanent. Please understand, death is fixed. Birth can be avoided, provided you attain liberation. But that also you don't have a choice, because you have to go through that process. Until you don't have a human birth, how can you attain God realization? You cannot. Isn't that a boon? So why do you see that as a painful existence? It is not painful. But till you don't understand the futility of this human existence, how can you realize God? God can only be realized when you understand everything in this world is unreal and it's a creation of Maya alone. That is, it's Lord's Maya. Everything that is created is also, please remember, it has the divine essence. So we have to see God in everything. And when you understand that truth, then you attain that realization. Then you see this world as a very beautiful place. You're not going to get upset by what happens, because it's perfectly, well, that this is the Lord's creation and it's just His Leelas. It's a playful thing, but it appears so real. Why? Because we are attached to this body, mind and senses. We are unable to overcome. So you feel you're going to grieve that somebody is going to die. You're going to grieve if somebody is going to get hurt. You're going to grieve over people if they are sick. So all these things are going to happen to you. But when you have that firmness, that strength, when you have that strength with the guidance of the divine Lord, that knowledge is coming to you. That knowledge, you have to use it to evolve on that path and not get deterred. This is what Lord Sri Krishna is teaching here. So let us continue. Arjuna, before birth, beings are not manifest to our human senses. On death, they return to the unmanifest again. They are manifest only in the interim between birth and death. What occasion then for lamentation? Wow, that's a very powerful question which the Lord is asking Arjuna. He wants Arjuna to reason out. Why he's giving him all these explanations is because Arjuna has to get in his mind that conviction, that firm conviction that I don't have to grieve over whoever is going to die. My swadharma is to fight this war, and I am the perfect warrior. God has given me that ability, that strength, that skill. I've learned the art of war only so that I can fight this battle. See, everybody is not given all kind of skills, you know that? Only those who have to perform certain duties, certain tasks, they have to do certain role in their life. They will be given that knowledge. So understand, if you are going to be groomed for becoming that king or the queen, you are going to be given that perfect knowledge about how do you rule the kingdom. How do you be a very, a righteous king? How do you perform all your duties as a king to the greatest of your ability, the administration capability. Those kind of knowledge and skill is going to be given to you. And plus, you will be given the knowledge about how to, fight in a battle, use different, instruments of like weapons, different instruments, weapons, all that skill you're going to be given, you're going to be groomed in that, and you're going to go through many years of the training process. It's not one day's effort, and this is what we don't understand. So everybody is going to be, honed in the skills that they have to become. This, like I use my technology term, subject matter experts in today's day and age, but they are going to become that expert in that field so that they can perform their duty to the highest of the ability. And this is what we fail to understand. But that learning process doesn't happen in a fast forward way. My Guruji was telling me, yesterday, he was just reminding me, remember you came to me at a, when you initially came to me, you wanted everything at a fast forward. You wanted to get all the knowledge in a fast forward manner. But that was not the time for fast forward. But today is the time for fast forward. Now you have to learn a lot. Too many things you have to accommodate. You have to learn too many things and evolve. So, so the God knows that when you need to get that fast track learning and when you have to go through that slow process of understanding and learning and evolving. And this aspect, only the Divine Lord or the Guru alone knows it. Nobody else knows it. See, in your material world, when we say Guru, we are not referring to the material worldly teachers. Unfortunately or fortunately, we attribute Guru to a teacher. See, teachers are those who you learn the knowledge which is imparted to you in your school, in your college, or there'll be professionals like, in different like the skills that you want to acquire, like it could be a dance teacher, it could be a drawing teacher. So those are all the teachers, or your teacher from the musical world, whatever that field that you want to learn, in art, culture, everybody. So they're all teachers. But the Guru is a spiritual master, the one who is known as the remover of ignorance and illuminer of knowledge. Knowledge about what? The truth. So he's not your material worldly teacher, but this master is all knowing. Why? Because he's the Divine Lord himself. So what is the difference between this Guru and a teacher? The Guru removes your material worldly imperfections and perfects your spiritual understanding. But the teacher can only give you that knowledge about that subject alone. Nothing more, nothing less. Because that is all the teacher is qualified. He cannot remove your ignorance because the teacher himself is not aware of that. So the distinction between a teacher and a Guru is quite vast. And in fact, I have a very beautiful write-up about this. Maybe I'll post it. You should go and read about it. And then you'll get an understanding. There's a huge difference between a teacher and a Guru. So don't mix this term. But when you have this great master, only he will make you go through that process of learning. But in our material world, we have to learn the basic knowledge about how to live in life. What are the subjects we have to study. All that you're going to learn from the teachers. Right from your school, college, and at your work. Your mentors become your teachers too. But they are not your gurus. The Guru word can only be used for defining the spiritual master, who's a real Guru. Again, not the celebrity gurus I'm talking about, because this word Guru itself is very abused. Nobody understands the right meaning about the word Guru. Everybody cannot be called a Guru. Guru is only an anointed beings. The Divine Lord themselves anoint the Guru. You can't just become a Guru or call yourself a Guru. You need to be given that anointment, that position by the Divine Lord. Only then can you be called as a Guru, the real master. So that is why we have this difference between a sage, a saint, a Guru, and an incarnation. In fact, in my series about the sages, the saints, the Gurus and incarnations, I have started with who is a Guru. I have given an explanation about it. Please go listen to that, or even you can read the blog about it. Then you will get the understanding correct. So coming back here, what is the Lord saying? Arjuna, before birth, beings are not manifest to our human senses. On death, they return to the unmanifest again. So before birth, nothing existed, right? Even you didn't exist. So what are you being afraid of? And because you're seeing something, you're experiencing something? Is that what makes you feel attached? That is exactly what the Divine Lord is telling Arjuna. Arjuna, before birth, beings are not manifest to our human senses. So what is the cause of this attachment? When the sense comes into the contact of the sense objects, immediately your mind comes into existence. Then you're going to experience hot, cold, happy, sad. I love something, I don't like something. You taste, oh, it's a good taste, a bad taste. Oh, how beautiful it is. I smell something very nice, I smell something bad. So all the sense comes active, it becomes active the moment you're born, but only when you manifest. But on death, they return to the unmanifest again. But when you die, there's nothing coming in contact with the senses, and that it returns back to the unmanifest. They are manifest only in the interim period, that is when between the birth and death. That is all it's manifest. But otherwise it's not there. And that is what I keep telling you, how my Krishna Guruji, for him, the contact with the sense, when it comes in the contact with the sense object, it doesn't react. Simply because he doesn't have the inner sheaths called the mind body. It doesn't exist for him. So there is no reaction happening because they're just manifested being. The divine being has manifested that body. It has just donned that body as a garb. It is wearing it. So beyond that, there's no reaction going to happen. Why? Because he's perfectly in oneness with him. That divine being. He's oneness with his own self. So there is no reaction. But in the material world, to impart this knowledge, to teach people, he has to take that body. So what is there? They are only manifest only in the interim between birth and death, which means during the period, this body's birth and death, interim period, we're experiencing that contact of the senses when it's coming in contact with the sense object, and so we feel that pairs of opposite, pleasure, pain, happy, sad, good, bad, ugly, all that. Beautiful. Oh, I taste this, it's so nice, I love this, I don't like this. I taste this is not tasting nice. Oh, look at the smell, the flower is smelling so beautiful. So all that senses trigger only during that interim period of birth and death. Otherwise, where is it? It's in the unmanifest state. So understanding this, you should not grieve. So what occasion then for lamentation? That's a very important question. So what is the Lord asking? So what is the occasion for lamentation? So why are you lamenting? Why are you thinking that you're going to die or somebody is going to be killed, you're going to see bloodshed? No, that's just an unreal thing. But you can't deny not going through that journey, right? You can't deny that war should not happen. But that's how it's programmed. This world is just an illusion of, it's an illusion of the Lord. It's a Maya, unreal. But that's exactly what the Lord is explaining. They are manifest only in the interim period between the birth and death. In the interim is when this whole world appears to be real. So why should you lament? So what occasion you are going to lament? Before birth or after death? Because at both the times, it's unmanifest. So the interim period is when you've experienced this. So what is the occasion for you to lament? This is the question the Lord is asking Arjuna. So let us see what he's further going to explain to Arjuna. Hardly any great soul perceives this soul as marvelous. Scarce another great soul likewise speaks thereof as marvelous, and scarce another worthy one hears of it as marvelous, while there are some who know it not even on hearing of it. Oh my God, it's a little complex thing that the Lord is teaching here, but let's understand. Hardly any great soul perceives this soul as marvelous. Nobody is perceiving. Hardly any great soul means the beings perceives. He's talking about great souls. That could be somebody who's a wise man. It could be the seers, the knowers of the truth. All these great soul. Okay, the word soul, the Paramatma. This soul as the great beings. So I'm going to not confuse you by using the word soul. Let me say hardly any great beings perceive this soul as marvelous. Scarce another great soul likewise speaks thereof as marvelous. So everybody, says about it something very different. But he says hardly any great soul perceives this soul as marvelous. Well, that means what? It is beyond anybody's perception. How can you perceive the soul, the Paramatman, which is beyond perception? Why? Because we can't use our senses to understand this Paramatman. So who can say it is marvelous? You can't describe saying, oh, how great it is, because you can't even perceive it. Its greatness is never perceived. Scarce another great soul likewise speaks thereof as marvelous. Means very, very hardly anybody, very few will speak the great soul likewise, in the sense the great being likewise speaks thereof as marvelous. So that means there's not anyone who knows about how great this Paramatman is. Then he's saying, and scarce another worthy one hears of it as marvelous. So who is the worthy one who's hearing of it as marvelous? So Arjuna here is hearing worthy one. The Lord is saying some very interesting words. And scarce another worthy one hears of it as marvelous. Means hardly anybody will hear. That means you have to be a worthy to hear. That means Arjuna is a worthy one. So today you and me have the privilege that we are worthy. That is what Lord Shri Krishna is saying. We are able to hear about this knowledge. We are hearing about this truth. So you are that worthy one who hears of it as marvelous. While there are some who know it not even on hearing of it. And so what is he saying? While there are some who know it not even on hearing of it. Even if they hear, they are not going to even know of its existence. Which means they will always be a deaf people. Even if that knowledge comes to them, they don't understand. So today, he's telling Arjuna, you are that worthy one. You are lucky enough to get this knowledge. So you're listening to it, you're hearing about it. So you need to, imbibe that knowledge that is coming to you, so that you understand the truth, and then you will be able to perform your duties to the highest of the abilities and be very devoted to the Divine Lord and His purpose. So what is the way of life? What is Bhagavad-Gita all about? It is about knowledge. This chapter is all about knowledge. Lord Shri Krishna is imparting that knowledge. And then he's talking about karma, to doing your duties with love and devotion, that is bhakti. So knowledge, that is duty, and bhakti. Jnana, karma, and bhakti. This is what it is all about. And once you understand this, then you're never going to lament, grieve, or get infatuated by what you see, what you experience, but perfectly you will be like that lotus leaf, untouched by the water on it. Arjuna, this soul dwelling in the bodies of all can never be slain. Therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. Again, that's a very beautiful lesson. What is the Lord saying? Arjuna, this soul dwelling in the bodies of all can never be slain. It can never be killed. You can't take a knife and cut it. You can't kill it. Even if the body dies, the soul is not dying. Therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. Why should we cry? See, when somebody dies, in the world, we feel so sad. Yesterday, my mother called me and suddenly said, I have a bad news to share. I'm like, what happened? Somebody who we know, one of our neighbor's daughter, she lost her husband. She's a young woman. So she lost a very young, married maybe for 5 years, 10 years, I don't know, young couple. And her husband died of heart attack. And when that happened, my first question of who died? So but in the world, they're all grieving, they're feeling extremely sad. But here, the Lord is telling, this soul dwelling in the bodies of all can never die, can never be slain. Therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. So why do we mourn for anyone? So the body died. It died because that is all that body's karma was. And so the body died peacefully, but nobody can accept. They're all crying. Who are they crying for? They're crying for the body, but the soul didn't die. The Paramatman is eternal. The being had to leave that body. The time was over on this on this planet Earth. His sojourn on this planet Earth is over. So the person had to go back. What did we learn? He becomes unmanifest. On death, they return to the unmanifest again. So the soul, it returns to unmanifest once again. But what remains is just the body. Body is only created out of elements. That is, Prakriti gives this body. It's a created aspect. So anything that is created, it has to die. So why do we mourn when people die? It is the attachment that we have to the body. And today the Lord is driving home this point through this most profound knowledge that you don't have to get attached to the body, the mind and the senses. So when you stop getting attached, then you're not going to feel pleasure, pain, hurt, sad, happy, good, bad. None of those pairs of opposites you're not going to feel at all. And when you don't feel, you're perfectly in oneness with the Paramatman. You understand the truth about life, and then you will be able to do your Swadharma to the highest of your abilities. So let us continue. Here he says, besides, considering your own duty too, you should not waver, for there is nothing more welcome for a man of the warrior class than a righteous war. Wow, the Lord is saying something very, very powerful. What is he saying? He's saying, besides, considering your own duty. See, you also as a body, as Arjuna, you have your own duty too. Considering your own duty. Forget about everything that I spoke about. But at least now take this point. That is, considering your own duty too. You should not waver. How can you waver? You have a duty to do. You have a duty to fulfill. How can you waver? For there is nothing more welcome for a man of the warrior class than a righteous war. You are a warrior. What is this more welcoming? You should be very happy to accept this war, a righteous war. Nothing more welcome for a man of a warrior class. You're a Kshatriya, Arjuna. You're a born fighter. You're a warrior. You're from a warrior class. For warriors, what great joy than fighting a war. Correct, right? Because as a warrior, I want to win in this world. I'm a fighter. So what is more important to me? My duty of fighting as a warrior. That is what is welcoming. So people will welcome being born of a warrior class. I'm doing my duty. How can then I say, Arjuna, that I'm not going to do my duty, right? As an Arjuna, I cannot grieve. So Krishna is saying, forget about everything else. The soul is eternal. All that also you forget. But you're a born warrior. How can you now tell me you don't want to fight? Can a man in the warrior class say that they can't fight? Isn't that the most welcoming thing? As a Kshatriya, as a warrior, isn't the first thing that comes to you? The pride is that I am the warrior, I am the Kshatriya. I have to go win wars. That is what the kings do. So how can Arjuna say that I am not going to fight? And most important, warrior class than a righteous war. So for every warrior, you have to always fight the righteous war. That is the dharma. Now, Arjuna can't say that I'm not fighting this war. Why? Just because his relatives are there as an enemies, as opposition, and then he's going to say that I'm not going to fight. No, there are no relatives, there are no friends. So you have to fight. So that righteous war is the most important word which the Lord is using. I will reread this verse once again so you understand. Besides, considering your own duty too, you should not waver. For there is nothing more welcome for a man of a warrior class than a righteous war. So for a man of a warrior class, fighting a righteous war is the most welcoming thing. In the sense, people will, revere you. People will admire you because that is what you did. You did your duties to the highest of your abilities, fighting the righteous war, not unrighteous. There's a word he uses, that's a very, very important thing the Lord is talking about. So what is he telling Arjuna? He's saying this war is a righteous war. Don't think your relatives are here, that you're fighting your relatives. You're fighting the righteous war. So who will not welcome you? The world will welcome you because you stood up for righteousness. The dharma is what you believed in and you did your duty as a warrior. And as a warrior and a Kshatriya, you have to fight the battle. That is what is very important. That is what will behove of a man of a warrior class. This is what Lord Shri Krishna is teaching to us. This Arjuna is you and me. We need to fight this righteous battle in our life and never get deterred. Please remember, wherever there is Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna, ye will always prevail. Righteousness, victory, glory. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be saying this last chapter, the last verse of this, Bhagavad-Gita, but that is the truth. This is what we fail to understand. We forget that when the Lord is on your side, can you not fight any battle? We fear life. What is going to happen? What will happen to my future? You fear that life because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. The uncertainties which we have no control over. The uncertainties makes us always curious, makes us, become stressful. We don't know. We are worried. Why should you? You have to have that faith in the Divine Lord. When you have the faith, please remember, nothing shall befall you. Everything will work out. This moment shall too pass. This too shall pass. It's the other way around. So why worrying about it? So what is the point in having that worry? You don't have to. So don't worry about anything and don't think about what is going to be my future, what happens to my kids, what happens to my family. That is what he's thinking about. But think about doing your duties, which will benefit this universe, the world around. If everybody is only going to think about their own petty life, petty desires, or their small, mean, middle class mentalities, I'll work in a secure job so that I can have a small family, I can, fulfill my desires, my dreams, and then take care of my family alone. You're not just born for your family alone. There are people in this world. You have to serve them. That's what I did. I was explaining yesterday as well. So wake up and fight your life like the great warrior that you are. You're a born warrior. Everybody, each one of us are. We are all warriors in our own capacity. So we need to understand our duties and do that job, that which we have been given, that which we have been, what I'm trying to say is that we have to do the job for which we are perfectly suited and appointed by the Divine Lord Himself. It is His command that we need to follow. It is the divine will. It's the ordain of that Lord which you have to follow, and please perform your duties to your highest of your abilities and don't lament. Everything will be fine. You have to face that life and win in this world. That is what Lord Shri Krishna has imparted to Arjuna so far. So with that, we will stop at verse 31 and begin from verse 32 the next satsang, next weekend. Thank you once again for joining Shri Bhagavad-Gita satsang. Have a very good weekend. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha. Om Shri Gurudev Datta. Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Digambara Digambara Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Guru Nathanataya Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru.